Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Lisa Frankenstein, a PG-13 horror/rom-com that drops this weekend. Fun fact that I learned after watching this is that it's actually directed by Zelda Williams, who is Robin Williams' daughter. And one of the screenwriters also worked on Jennifer's Body, which makes a lot of sense. I'm going to be straight up with you. This movie takes a lot of inspiration from other films. It takes big inspiration from Tim Burton's films like Edward Scissorhands. I already mentioned Jennifer's Body, and it kind of does carry over some of the tonal elements from that film as well. And you get a little feel of Warm Bodies in there as well. But quite frankly, I went into this knowing next to nothing about it, so I really had no expectations whatsoever. And what I'll say is I'm very mixed on it. First of all, let's talk about Kathryn Newton, because I have been critical of her performances before, particularly in Ant-Man Quantumania. I don't know why she's so bad in that, but I think she's finally found a niche in which she works quite well. She did so in Freaky, and once again here, she's good at taking those characters who are not meant to be taken so seriously and just having a lot of fun with them. And I'm not trying to be mean when I say this, but some actors are just not well suited for serious, dramatic roles, and I think she's one of those people, and I hope that her casting agent recognizes that and continues to put her in films like this, because she was a big surprise here. Genuinely, if anybody does, I think she carries this film on her shoulders. Because Frankenstein is in the title, you know you're going to get that kind of a story here. Her character, Lisa, is your typical social outcast in high school, the type of character that goes through a serious goth phase in the movie. She's mistreated by everybody, including her family. Like, these people are horrible to her. Everyone is so horrible to this character that I couldn't help but feel bad for her, even when she starts to do some questionable things later on. For whatever reason, she has this morbid fascination with this one dead dude's grave. She leaves flowers there, she goes and talks to him, and one day she wishes that she was in the ground with him. And instead of that happening, he rises from the dead, and thus we have this Frankenstein's monster type story. Cole Sprouse plays the corpse in this, and I think he's probably the weakest part of it. He doesn't speak at all. He's mute through pretty much the entire movie. Instead, he just limps around, stumbles, trips over things, and grunts. Granted, I don't know if I would have preferred if he was talking, but it got a little bit repetitive. In terms of the rom-com side of things, I think the movie's way too predictable. It falls back on those cliches that we've seen 100 times. There's a twist of sorts later on in the film that I saw coming from about 10 miles away. I was actually kind of disappointed in myself for predicting it, because I was like, oh, do something a little more creative, would you, movie? But based on the trailer, I was expecting this to be a lot more lighthearted and less serious. Not that it's serious per se, but for PG-13, they push the limits at times. There are bits in this that are not only sexually explicit, but also quite violent. And I know I'm going to sound like a broken record when I say this, but I think the PG-13 rating hurts it, because there's a scene later on in the film, and when I watched it unfold, I was like, I love this idea so much, and I think this is cool. But it could have been so much better if they committed. With an R rating, they could have shown a little bit more, and I think it would have made the scene all the more awesome. And for some reason, these studios just don't have faith in audiences that they'll go see R-rated films, which is a shame. I know a lot of people are critical of films that feel like they have gore just for the sake of gore. But in a case like this, your premise is already so over the top, you might as well commit to it. I mean, part of the reason why I like Jennifer's Body is because it's very bloody. In addition to being funny, it's quite gory, and it's unapologetically so. This felt like it didn't really know which side of the coin it wanted to commit to. It also doesn't know if it wants to be more rom-com or more horror. I felt it started out in a very tame rom-com type of manner and then got into a lot more dark subject matter. There are definitely other strengths here though, besides the ideas and besides Kathryn Newton's performance as this lead character, who I was very intrigued by. The soundtrack is great. Overall, I like the art design. In the opening, there's a dream sequence that does some interesting things with the colors. That was when this was giving me Tim Burton vibes. After that, it kind of throws that away for your typical digital look. There really isn't any inventive camera work here. And one other thing that just popped into my head that I want to be sure I mention is that although I enjoy the silliness of some of these characters, others are taken way too far. Like there's a point where you take a caricature too far and it gets annoying. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm mostly referring to Carla Gugino's character, who is Lisa's stepmom. Love the actress, but I think they were trying way too hard to make this character over the top, to the point that it got on my nerves. This is a really difficult one to evaluate, because I really do like about 50% of it, and the other 50% I think kind of falls flat, or at the very least is scared to fully commit to what it's trying to do. So the end result is this movie that I'm very very lukewarm on. There's parts of it that I really enjoyed, but there's other parts that I'm like, do I really think I would recommend this to people? If you're looking for something to go see on Valentine's Day, is this really worth it? I guess I'm just a little burnt out by the films that we've gotten in 2024 so far. I haven't given a single positive review to a new release yet. And man, I really wanted Lisa Frankenstein to be the one, especially after enjoying certain elements in it. But overall, I think it's just too much of a mixed bag, so I'm gonna give this one 2.5 out of 5 stars. It really does come close to that 3. So, you know, if you're on the fence about it, maybe give it a shot. Maybe you'll like it more than me. And if you do see Lisa Frankenstein, as always, I'd like for you to drop down into the comments and let me know what you thought of it. I know I promised a review of Argylle, and that is still coming. It's just been delayed. Next week, expect a review of Madam Web. That's gonna be great, I'm sure. As always, thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.